afternoon and welcome to Beauty and the Beast from the James Hay Theatre, Christchurch. And here's your host, Selwyn Toogood.
Thank you. Thank you, Christchurch, and hello, New Zealand. Thank you for giving up this part of the day to be with us. I'm delighted to tell you that all this week we're working in the James Hay Theatre in Christchurch, and we will finish on Friday of this week with the 2000th broadcast of Beauty and the Beast. It started on February the 2nd in 1976, and we've been going ever since. I'd like you to meet the panelists for today and for the rest of the week. From Wellington, Shona McFarlane. Shona was one of the original panelists on February the 2nd of 1976 for the 1500th program, which came from here. She was in Australia, and we unfortunately didn't have her on the panel, and we're delighted.
Mexico.
In Mexico,
Getting
were
the
you?
countries mixed.
Well, I knew that you were somewhere abroad.
Thank you.
From Christchurch, Tui Crerar. Tui, since you started on Beauty and the Beast, which was when, a couple of years ago, when we first came to Christchurch in 1982, you've changed your jobs quite considerably.
Yes,
what are you doing now?
As the children have grown, so have my jobs. I've given up my library job, which I was doing very part-time when the children were small, and I'm now working about 30 hours a week for a computer software company.
And you know anything about computers?
Not a great deal. I'm on the administration staff.
Side.
And, of course, the advertisements. It's a busy life.
Well, we're delighted to have you on the program. Another newcomer to the program when we moved up to Christchurch, an actress who's been working around Christchurch for some 70 or 80 years in the repertory and the court theatre. She's been an actress most of her life. She's now directing for court theatre. Ladies and gentlemen, Elizabeth Moody. Elizabeth, you were telling me in the dressing room you prefer directing to acting. Why?
I hate correcting you, Selwyn, as you very well know, because I don't like arguing with you or crossing you in any way. But it is actually...
I have noticed over
It is
the
actually
last
the
3
repertory
years.
and not the court, and it's on this week, so...
Oh, you're...
I'm having my first chance of a quick plug.
You're directing for repertory?
Yes, yes.
And what is the play?
It's called I'm Talking About Jerusalem.
Uh-huh.
And anybody who's Jewish in our studio audience was please go. It's a wonderful play. But it's just, as I said to Selwyn in the dressing room, it's easier directing because you only get one chance at a minor coronary occlusion on the opening night. You don't have one major coronary occlusion every night for a month. It's much nicer.
Another veteran of Beauty and the Beast who was in the very first program, known to most of you, I would think, Jean McLain. Jean, what are your happiest memories of Beauty and the Beast?
Well, I've got lots of happy memories of Beauty and the Beast. I think it's fabulous. As I say, we're on the first program, and here we are nearly 9 years later, and I still love every minute of it.
Jolly good. All right, let's start on our first letter. It's taken us a long time to get into it. It comes from Sheet Rust of Christchurch. I have a problem with rust marks on my yellow and lavender flannelette sheets. How can I remove the marks? Shona, our great little housewife.
Makes me feel all sweaty just to think about it. Flannelette sheath in these days of electric blankets and all those other woolen things that people put under or over their sheets, which will remain nameless. Rust. Has she been leaving them out in the backyard or something? Yeah, you do get rust on sheets, do you? Have you ever had rusty sheets? Never, no. I think you do things with lemon juice, but I always say if you want to know anything about stain removal of any kind, there's a little booklet put out by the the University Extension of the Home Science School in Dunedin called Stain Removal. And I bought the little booklet years ago, and I've no idea where it is now, but I'm sure if I found it, it'd be very useful to tell you how to take rust out of sheets.
Tui,
I think it is one of those lemon juice things. I think you sprinkle the rust, or you squeeze lemon juice over the rusty marks, sprinkle the lemon juice area with salt, and then leave it out in the sun to dry. I think that'll work. Apart from that, you could always dye the sheets a nice rust colour. It's very fashionable. But really, we should talk about prevention rather than a cure, so it won't happen again. I think either you buy new pegs, if they're the old wooden kinds with all the wire bits rusting away merrily, or if you happen to have a tin leg or something, dry yourself thoroughly before retiring.
Had you worked out as simple a solution as that as to how the rust marks got onto the sheets?
No.
Have you any solution?
No, yours sound more like salad dressing than rust remover. I've learnt a lot on this panel in the last 2 years that I wanted to know. I've also learnt a great deal that I didn't want to know. And I don't care how you get rust off sheets. I don't care how it got on. I think, for a start, that yellow and lavender sheet sounds like instant hepatitis. I just think they've been... You can't get very raunchy about yellow and lavender, can you? I'd switch to dark blue and black satin and get on with it. I think whoever it is has been lying far too long in them, though heaven knows why.
Jean.
Well, I think you've got real problems. There's lots of questions I want to ask. You see, I want to know, how much rust are we talking about? Was it done by pigs? Did you have it stored with a rusty old tin or something and they got rust on them? Sounds crazy to have rust on sheets that wouldn't wash out. But anyway, I'll give another one as well as the lemon that they've talked about, because I reckon the lemon will take the colour out. But maybe what I say will too, but if you stretch your sheets over a hand basin, you wet the stained area, and then you spread a few crystals of oxalic acid. Then you pour the warm water over that through, rinse it well and hang it out to dry. How's that, Selwyn?
I'd rather have the rusty marks.
I'd rather buy new sheets.
She doesn't want the rusty marks. That's the point. She wants to get rid of them.
All right, let's have a look at our rose for today. It's called Pace Setter. Dawn Eagles has looked after us all through the winter. How she does it, I don't know. Pace Setter, the colour is pure white. Our next letter is very close to my heart. My husband is a smoker. In the past years, he's tried several ways to give up, but nothing has worked. My complaint is his parents. They continually tell him to give up. Think of the baby's health. Think of the money you're wasting. Think of the damage he's doing to our health. But my biggest complaint is this. When they come to visit, they actually expect him to go outdoors to smoke, and afterwards will not allow him to handle our son. I understand their fears, but surely what we do in our own home should be our own business. What does the panel think? First, from non-smoker, Tui Crerar.
Well, actually, I'm not just a non-smoker, I'm a reformed smoker, which makes me really hard to bear.
Much worse.
Because I smoked very steadily until about 9 years ago. I used to smoke about 20 a day, Selwyn. I haven't smoked since then. But as a reformed smoker, yes, I'm quite harsh about smokers. My husband still smokes, incidentally, and I don't try and stop him, much in all as my daughter does. I think it's his lungs, it's his life, let him get on with it. But I think you have two problems. You've got a set of in-laws who are overbearing, intolerant and interfering. That's problem number one, and you can deal with that however you like. But quite frankly, I would object very strongly to anyone coming into my home and telling me how to run it. Your second problem is your husband. When is he going to grow up and stand on his own 2 feet? Look back at his parents and say, you know, who do you think you're bossing around? I'm an adult, leave me alone, whatever he wants to say. But really and truly, for a grown man to be ordered out of his house by his parents to smoke outside and then not to handle his child, just, it seems amazing to me. No, I think your in-laws have got a problem and so's your husband. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Liz?
Yes, I'm a reformed smoker who smokes. I would dearly love to be a non-smoker, but I'm absolutely, frankly, absolutely terrified about putting on weight. I think it's a thing. Of course, there's always an excuse too, like opening nights, and you know you could find excuses. If his parents weren't thick as well as rude, I tell them the worst way to make anyone give up anything, booze, women, hard drugs, smoking, is to go on and on and on. And it's really silly. You can't. I've tried to make my husband give up smoking, and I've gone on, and he's doubled his intake.
Jean, are you a smoker? Have you ever
No,
been?
I'm not a smoker, and I never have been a smoker. But my husband is a smoker, and he's had a couple of strokes, and he's had a couple of heart attacks, and he smokes blithely on, and there's no way I would stop him. It's one of the pleasures he's got, and he can carry on as long as he likes. But I was interested in the Christchurch paper fairly recently, Selwyn, when I read that a lady was 113, and she smoked a pipe until she was 103, and the family made her give up this pipe. They couldn't stand the pipe. It wasn't good for her health. And so she went on to cigarette smoking, and she's now 113.
Well, some years ago, in the days of radio, I was at the opening of an old people's home, and there was an old gentleman there, and I went up to him with the microphone, and I said, "How are you today, sir?" He said, "I'm fine, thank you." He said, "How old are you?" He said, 95. And I said, "Do you smoke?" "No, never smoked in my life." "Women?" "No, never touched a woman in my life." "Booze?" "No, never had a drink, and here I am, over 90 and in great shape." The next bloke I came up to, and I said, "What about you, sir? Do you smoke?" "Oh, I smoke about 40 or 50 packs a day." He said, "I can really get through them." "What about booze?" "Oh, yes, I have a bottle of whiskey every day, a bottle of gin at night when I get home." "Oh, great, great." "Women?" "Oh, yes, women. How old are you, sir?" 28. Shona.
Well, as far as cigarettes go, I have to confess that never have I smoked. I hate smoking, I hate smelling it on other people, but my lungs are absolutely shot. I shouldn't have started that.
Shona is suffering from bronchitis today. Thank you very much for overcoming your problems and appearing on the programme. If you'd like to write to us, and I'm sure that you'd be delighted to send us a letter, will you please send it to Beauty and the Beast, care of Television New Zealand, Post Office Box 1945 in Christchurch. Box 1945, Christchurch.
Once a man named John Young made a beautiful...
Well, our next letter comes from Curious of Taumaranui. Could you please tell me why manufacturers put egg trays in fridges? When you buy eggs, they're not in a chiller, and when baking, you're not supposed to use eggs straight from the fridge, so what's the purpose of it all? Liz is a great cook.
I'm not bad, actually. Tell you the truth. You know that. That's why you said it.
Yeah, but I said he's a great cook.
You're
Now,
getting me.
You see, you always
you had
take me up...
a note in your voice.
Oh, you noticed that slight note, okay.
It's the supermarket or dairy that puts the eggs in the chiller, but actually, as the hen is the manufacturer of the egg, I shouldn't think they're up to putting anything anywhere, really, very much. My supermarket doesn't put eggs in containers and things. It puts them just on the floor, and I don't know anything about baking. I must confess that.
No, but this is the egg trays in the fridges. You know, in the door of a fridge, there's a little tray that has
Oh,
place...
I've got the whole thing totally wrong.
Of course you have, you see. And there you are saying what a great housekeeper you are and what a brilliant
I
cook
just
you
wanted
are.
an excuse to make the joke about the hen.
Oh, well, you've made that. Now let's get back to the problem.
Oh, well, I mean, yes, that's easy. I know nothing about baking, but it's awfully hard to whisk a warm white.
It's hard to whisk a warm
Yes,
white.
so I put my eggs, half my eggs in the fridge and half in the safe.
Thank you very much. Jean.
She's a bit lucky. She's got a safe. I wonder where you'd put eggs today if you didn't put them in the door of the fridge, because we don't have safes. I don't know what kind of house you've got. You've still got a safe, aren't you? Lucky. Anyway, there's not many safes around, so where are you going to put them in the door? When I'm going to bake, I take the number I'm going to need out, because you aren't supposed to bake, Liz, unless they're at the room temperature. So you take them out and leave them in a bowl somewhere on the table to get your baking done.
You see, I looked at Mrs. Beaton, and Mrs. Beaton didn't mention anything about cold eggs.
Well, they didn't have refrigerators in Mrs. Beaton's day. That's
but
a
they
very
do have
good
to be
reason
at room temperature.
Shona.
Oh, well, it's just storage, isn't it, and convenience, and they don't rattle around and sort of get all tangled up with all the other things. But, of course, you can always keep those little fancy wire baskets on your bench with the eggs in them. But, of course, if you don't keep them in the fridge, they go rotten quicker. That's all. But what I was going to say about eggs, and everybody being such good cooks, do you all know about putting whites of egg in with whipped cream? Does anyone know about that? I think it's brilliant. I just learned about it the other day.
You put what?
You actually, if you're whipping cream, and you want it to go further and not quite be so heavy and not quite so fattening, you beat up the white of an egg, and then you beat up the whipped cream, and you put the two together, and you get this lovely light whipped cream that goes twice as far.
That'll be Shona's next book, Aunt Shona's Cookbook. Tui.
I just thought if you want to be pernickety and not keep your eggs in the egg container in the fridge, most containers now are those rectangular boxes. They haven't got the little egg-shaped shelves anymore, I don't think. And you can use that egg container no matter what's written on the front of it. You can put all sorts of things in there, like half-open tins of condensed milk or some dietary food that no one else in the family is allowed to touch. You haven't got to put eggs in it because it says eggs on the front. But for people like us who don't have acres of bench space, we have to keep our eggs in the fridge. There's nowhere else to put them. I used to have a safe, by the way.
Actually, people keep everything in fridges.
I had a safe, but the east wind used to blow straight into it and throw all this dust and grit all through the
They took it out.
I didn't say my safe was clean.
Selwyn, I can't give another recipe, can I? There's another way you can use eggs. If you boil them hard and you want them looking fancy on top of your salad, you boil your eggs hard and you bang, 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 bang with a spoon, you see? And then you pour tea over them or coffee over them.
Wait a minute.
And then,
What do you
then
bang,
you take
bang,
your
bang, bang with a spoon?
hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah.
Well,
You bang, oh, they're in the shell.
Out of the shell.
In the shell, for goodness sake.
I imagine these soft things.
In the shell, and you bang, bang, bang the shell and get the shell all mucked up, and then you pour tea or you pour coffee, whichever you prefer. Then you take the shell off and you've got lovely brown and white eggs and you decorate all your
You mean all
salad with them.
crazed colours?
Yeah, it's
all
lovely.
mottled.
Yes.
And then you cut it up and you've got a little mottled
Nothing
egg.
worse than having a
They look
mottled egg.
very attractive. You cut
other
them
words,
up,
you
they
can
look
have-
very attractive.
It matches the brown ring around the yolk.
Tea or coffee flavoured eggs with you.
You don't taste the flavour. Don't be
Looks as
so
if they've gone
difficult.
off.
I think it's a waste of
I
tea
think-
and coffee.
I think my idea with the cream was much superior.
Shona, can we get back to
Sorry.
the letter from the Emperor's New Clothes of Hamilton? My husband and I have been married for 8 years. My other half has a professional job in which he meets with influential people every day. I feel clothes are important, especially in the job that he has. My husband considers ability is far more important. That may be, but still, dress is important to me. My hubby has worn the same pair of winter trews the whole winter. This is because he has only one pair. I frantically darn and dry clean these if required at weekends. And it's not money, but my husband just hates shopping. He seems to think one pair is enough. Am I wrong in thinking appearance is important? Shona.
Well, I think you've got a new title for this husband of yours, Hubby the Grubby. I mean, one pair of trews. And anyway, all this frantic cleaning and everything else, I think men should look after their own clothes. If he wants to go round sniffing and smelling and being totally repulsive, and one pair of trousers all the year round, all winter long, whatever. And darning, is he so fat his legs rubbed together and he's sort of graunched a hole in his crutch or something? Goodness.
Tui.
But it's not grubby. The thing is, you, my Emperor's New Clothes writer, have been condoning and sort of approving of his behaviour by frantically doing all this cleaning and darning all weekend. I'm afraid I wouldn't have bothered. Selwyn's always accusing me of being devious, but I would make sure that his clothes were wet or in the wash or in some unfit state on the Monday morning. And you, in the meantime, just for once could go out and buy him a pair of trousers, get the size off something he's got. I wouldn't make a habit of it, mind you. I think men expect their wives to buy all their clothes, and I don't agree with that. But in this case, I think I would go out and buy that one pair, and then make sure his old pair were not available on Monday morning.
You know, it's hard to believe that such a woman, such a charming, beautiful woman should have such a mean streak, don't you?
Practical.
They've all got a mean
Liz.
streak.
A couple of hard-hearted Hannahs. I'm going to sound positively benevolent beside you. So when I think I loathe the expression my other half almost more than toilets, lounge and patio and hubby
And drapes?
and drapes. But I think the other half, as if you're sort of...
Patio come from?
Well, they say patio instead of patio, or patio. I've heard patio. It's where you bash, I suppose. Oh, I think you're both being very... I'd go out and be a proper wife, not a darning wife and an ironing wife, but go out and buy him some clothes. He's obviously far too busy to do what he called, undoubtedly, fuss about his appearance. And I come from a very small family of two, and if I buy anything for my husband Terence, he takes it straight back to the shop. But I would certainly go out and buy him a wardrobe. Proper wife.
He doesn't need a
proper
wardrobe,
wife
he needs
stuff.
clothes to put in it.
Don't quibble, Sybil.
What's all this? You're letting the side down.
I'm not letting
altogether.
this... No, I'm speaking for the vast majority of proper wives.
There you are. Do you agree with that, Jean?
No, I want to know why Shona started that question and not me, just because you missed one. I missed out on starting any on this program. Anyway, that's all right. I can put up with that too. I'd give him a pair. I'd give him a pair at his birthday. You have a Father's Day. I would go out and buy him a pair too. I believe what Tui says is right. Not make quite sure the other pair aren't ready. They're wet and all tacky, and they've still got the hole in the crutch and one thing and another. And he's got to wear the new ones. There's no question about it. Otherwise, he can't go out at all.
Who's got time for all this plotting and planning and scheming?
What concerns me is how he looks wandering around the house at the weekends when she's taken his twins off. Curious of Dunedin, I've always wondered about the saying the $64,000 or the $64 question. How it originated and why that number. Also, what is meant when people say, I'm on cloud 9. Tui.
Well, you corrected the first mistake almost accidentally then. It's not the $64 question, it is the $64,000 question.
That's right.
And you know all about it, don't you, Selwyn? You're dying to answer this.
No, but do you notice that I didn't step in?
It's amazing,
I'm giving you all the opportunity to just...
Oh, well, I'll try and answer it as you might have, Selwyn, shall I? It's a quiz show that ran years ago. I think it was one of Jack Mabry's or someone.
No, it was America.
All right, forget it. Okay, it was a quiz show anyway.
In America.
And the questions were asked, and you kept on going. The prize money went up in value the more questions you got right, and the final question was one that you could win $64,000 on.
Well, it's half right, but
So it was a
carry on.
$64,000 question. Okay, that's the answer for part 1. Part 2, about cloud 9. I really don't know, but I'm just guessing that when you're in love or really happy, you're not quite touching the ground and your head's in the clouds, and give the cloud a number. I don't know, cloud 9. Got a dress.
Well, after all that hoo-ha about how you knew all about it and how you were going to overtake what I was...
You've got to be positive.
You've only, the $64,000 question, you've only half touched on it. You're going to give me a tremendous opportunity if the others don't come up with the answer.
It's called not stealing your thunder.
I don't think you've got a
Far
clue.
too frightened to do it now, anyway.
You haven't got a clue, that's
No,
what...
I haven't. Oh, well, I knew about that, but I'm going to give you the chance of your lifetime to actually answer a question. 9 is an interesting number. I'm going to bore them all to death for a couple of minutes, that's all. It's the multiple of 3, which is the Trinity. 9 days wonder, dressed up to the nines, and I'm only dribbling on because I've got absolutely no idea what cloud 9 means. I just think it generally sounds happier than cloud 10.
Jean.
I was going to be so clever and say it was the $64,000 question, not 64, because he blew it when he first read it, Selwyn did. He goes and says $64 question, because he knows all about it, of course. That's quite right. But it was a quiz show in America, and you doubled your money. Every time you answered a question, it doubled. And when you got to the 32,000 bit, you answered that question, doubled over, and that's how you got your $64,000 question. That was the final question, and that's why they say the $64,000 question, because it's the final and the big one.
But she's already told you that.
She didn't say you doubled your money. She didn't know about doubling your money at all. She just said it was a quiz show.
It's actually not like that.
You actually double your money. It's not your turn yet. Anyway. And of course, cloud 9 is when you're incredibly happy. When Rosie rang me and said to me, "You're going to be on the $2,000 question," I was on cloud 9.
But why cloud 9? You haven't explained it. Shona.
Well, of course, the $64,000 question is really whether you take that chance or not, isn't it? It's not really that you're just doubling your money. It was that big moment when you took what you had or you took the chance and doubled it, and that's what it means. And I think there was an awful lot of scandal, wasn't there, attached to that program in the end?
That is so right, and that's what I was going to talk about, the scandal.
Anyway, it was all rigged, and they had some guy going on for weeks, week after week, coming back and getting bigger and bigger and bigger money, and then it all turned out that he knew the answer in advance anyway, and so I think the whole program disintegrated after that, but I'll let Selwyn say something.
No, I haven't got time. You haven't left time because we've come to the end of the program, and there we must leave it until the same time tomorrow, when once again we'll be coming from the James Hay Theatre in Christchurch. Until then, from us all, goodbye.